Monday, November the 30th, 2017, to you. Today, British musician Mr. Bob Geldof returned his Freedom of the City of Dublin award in protest of Myanmar leader Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi due to her handling of the Rohingya crisis. Mr. Geldof shares the award with Mrs. Suu Kyi. Personally, I believe that symbolic gestures like this are seldom effective. Moreover, they can become rude actions towards the prize givers, in this case the city of Dublin. Besides, I'm sure Mrs. Suu Kyi could not have cared less what happened with Mr. Geldof. Her attention was elsewhere indeed. Currently, the 31st ASEAN Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit is being held in Manila, Philippines. Mrs. Suu Kyi, in her capacity of state councillor, is representing Myanmar. By the way, Philippines President Mr. Rodrigo Duterte saluted Mr. Trump like a groupie. Anyway, a draft of the statement to be issued after the summit made no mention of the Rohingya crisis. Furthermore, it is unclear whether the issue will be on the agenda, regardless of recent statements issued by Malaysia and Indonesia, both predominantly Muslim countries, expressing concerns about the fate of Rohingya Muslims. It is worth to mention that ASEAN has always had a culture of inaction when it comes to human rights. However, I tend to believe this is not the only reason why ASEAN has remained silent on that subject. I am quite sure that China has a lot to do with it. As I wrote in an earlier letter, Saturday, September the 30th, there are a lot of development projects in the Rakhine state which claim to guarantee employment, transit fees, and oil and gas revenues for Myanmar. Both India's and China's interests are involved in these initiatives. Particularly, a pipeline is to send Middle East oil from Kyiv port in China. Accordingly, it could not be surprising if China were exerting some diplomatic pressure aimed at keeping Myanmar off the ASEAN agenda in return for Beijing efforts on keeping North Korea quiet. By the way, little or nothing has been heard from either Saudi Arabia or Iran regarding the plight of Rohingya people despite their Muslim faith. Finally, Myanmar's military, Tatmadaw, sacked Major General Maung So as the head of Western Command in Rakhine. Around 642,000 Rohingya people have hitherto fled to refugee camps in Bangladesh. Why did Tatmadaw decide to remove Major General Maung So now? Perhaps far from being a punitive decision, the military is simply recognizing that the mission has been completed and accordingly he is not needed anymore. Besides, showing personnel's expendability easily ensures discipline inside the army, especially when the armed forces are in power. Meanwhile, Mrs. Suu Kyi does like Mondays. The world is still on.